Hi. So, I have a crazy story for y'all. Well, it's a collection of stories. Um, Things that have happened to me that can't really be explained type of stories. Um, so yeah, I actually got this idea because I was talking to my daughter's father, and he asked me about an incident that happened when I was pregnant with Athena. So I'm going to tell y'all and some other things that have happened. So, when I was pregnant with my daughter, right? I experienced a lot of different things when I was pregnant with Athena. Like it was crazy. I have always felt like I've been a little bit of clairvoyant. I dream about things that sometimes happen, or they have meaning, or they tell me something, or stuff like that, right? I feel like I could be a little bit of clairvoyant. Like in my mind constantly, I feel like every decision that I make has a different outcome. So if I decide that I want to do something, like, I don't know, say if I decide I want to go outside, and then I decide I don't want to go outside, my mind will think so much about what could have happened if I went outside. And it's almost as if it's true, like I lived it before but decided not to go out and do it. It's crazy. I experienced that a lot. And I'm I'm an empath. I live off emotions. I feel people's energy, so it's like I can always tell when somebody's, having a bad day or whatever. So yeah, I'm just giving y'all a little background about it. So when I was pregnant with Athena, I was I took a shower. Okay. I took a shower, and I suddenly felt tired. Like I felt extremely tired. Like I was just so sleepy. So I laid down and I had no clothes on. That is not normal for me. That hardly ever happens. That has happened once that I can remember. That has never happened. But I fell asleep in my bed with no clothes on. And I was trying to wake myself up. And in between me waking up, I glanced at my closet. And my closet had two sets of golden eyes that were looking at me. And I heard them conversing, but it was almost like I heard it in my brain. I didn't hear them with my ears. Like I heard it in my brain that they were conversing. It was very weird. So they said, "Oh, she's looking. She's looking." And they closed their eyes like this. And I woke up like immediately because that was fucking weird. So I woke up and I looked, and the eyes were looking back at me like clear, and I know I was awake. I looked at them like this, like I just stared because I saw fucking eyes in my closet, bitch. So I just looked. I just looked. I'm like, then they did like this, and I didn't see them. But that shit drove me insane. Like I called my daughter's father and I told him, "Hey, I saw eyes in my closet." And he's like, "What?" And I told him what happened. Told him about seeing 2 sets of eyes. They were golden eyes in my closet. Ever since then, I closed my closet door. I don't do it anymore because I put stuff up there so I can't see any black, so I know nothing will be there. There are pink baskets that sit up in the closet because my closet leads to the attic. So I put these boxes there so nothing can sit there and stare at me. But after that whole incident, I would keep the closet door closed. I would put stuff there just so I can be sure that nothing can sit there and look at me. So yeah, I told my mom about it. I told my entire family. They were like, I believe you, because strange things have happened to me in my life. That's how I know, like, I feel like I feel like I done been here before. I have lived different lives before. I know it. I just know it, right? So then there was this other incident where every once in a while I used to see things like that are not there. People that were not there, uh objects that were not there, um stuff like that. So this one day I was driving, okay, and Athena was not born yet. She wasn't even conceived at this point. But I was driving and I was sitting by the interstate at the light, and there's a train track there, and I was sitting at that light, and then all of a sudden I saw all of these people running through the cars, and I looked and saw these fucking people running through cars, like not through them, just like, how like through the cars, like through the open spaces where the cars sit like this. There were people running in between the open spaces, and I looked and I'm staring at these people running, just running, and nobody else saw these people. I asked the guy, I said, the guy next to me, I rolled my window down, I did like this, and he's like, I said, did you see all of those people running? And he was like, what people? I'm like, you didn't see any of those people running just now? And he was like, no. And then he rolled his window up. I know he thought I was a fucking weird person. So I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? So I call my best friend. She knows all about this stuff with me because things happen to me that cannot be explained sometimes. It's like, it's crazy. So I called my best friend and I told her, hey, I saw these people running in traffic today and nobody else saw them. And I know they were there and I was not asleep. And she was like, well, you know about you, Harriet. She's like, you see things that other people cannot see. And I'll be like, don't. I said, but it was real. Like, they were real people running through the fucking cars. And she was like, and nobody else saw them. I said, nobody else fucking saw these people. Nobody. I thought I was crazy. I'm sitting there looking, and it's just a horde of people running through the fucking cars, and nobody budged, nobody looked, nobody turned to see what they was running from. I turned. You see a bunch of people fucking running. I turned. I didn't see. I was just like, maybe it's, people playing around, making jokes or something, but I didn't see what they were running from, what they were running to, nothing. I just saw a bunch of fucking people running. And get this, they did not disappear. They continued to run. They continued to run. And I just saw them. And then when I got up there, because I wanted to see where they were going, when I got up there, when the light turned green, I didn't see any of the people, like none. And there were seriously like 50 people running through the cards that nobody saw. So I was like, okay, I've lost my mind. I've lost my mind. That's she's like, nobody saw those people, Harriet. I'm like, nobody fucking saw them. Like, I asked the woman in front of me, I got out my car, okay, and asked her, did you see any people running through these cars? And she told me no. I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody saw them. So yeah, there is no explanation for those people running. I didn't see anything. I don't know why they were running, what they were running to, but nobody saw these people but me. There is another story that I wanted to tell y'all about when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I went through a lot of things when I was a kid. I went through a lot of shit when I was a kid. One of which is me feeling like somebody is there with me. I always felt like I was not alone, like somebody was looking or somebody was there. I just always felt like that. And I chalked it up to being my grandpa, because my grandpa died when I was young, and I loved that man. I was his favorite. Everybody knew it. You ain't supposed to have a favorite, but I was his favorite. Okay, everybody knows this. They still talk about it to this day. My grandpa has been dead for 20 years. Okay, like, hold up. He died when I was 5. So my grandpa has been dead for 23 years, y'all. And he is still a very loved man. So many kids have been named after him. Yeah, we have so many Williams in my family. It is crazy. My grandpa was this great war veteran. He fought in World War II. So my grandpa was a wonderful man, okay? Wonderful man. When I was young, I used to think it would be my grandpa watching me. But it was not my grandpa. I found out it wasn't my grandpa when I was like maybe 8 years old, maybe 7 or 8. I know my dad was still living when this happened. So maybe I was about 6, because my dad was sick for a long time. And he was fairly healthy. He wasn't like extremely healthy how he was, as I remember him, not when he got sick. So my dad was living at this point. I was going to school, and my mom didn't get why I didn't like being in the dark. I didn't like being in the dark because I felt like things would come for me in the dark, which is why till this day I am a 28-year-old mother. I will not sleep in the dark. I don't like lights being off when I'm there. Something gotta be shining, bitch. Something has to be on for me to at least sleep. I have to have something on. Something has to be on, because I feel safe that way, right? The reason I feel like that is because of this incident that happened when I was a kid. So when I was really young, this night, my dad was there. He was in the room with my mom. I'm in my room. I had to go to school. So my mom cut all the lights off. Even though I hated when the lights were off, she should have listened to me complain about the lights being off. But no, No, no. She want to be you take your ass to sleep type of mama, not listening to her kids complain type of mama. So I sat in the dark staring at this figure that I watched appear. I watched it. I saw it in the dark moving and you know appearing, and it was this huge figure in the dark. And I looked at it and I shook. I didn't say a word. And I just watched this creature, just huge creature, and then it turned and it looked to me. I saw these red like speckles around the big dark creature that I saw, and I stared at it. I stared at it and I screamed, "Mama!" I screamed. She came in, opened the door. I said, "I saw something. I saw something." She didn't believe me. She did not believe me. But I complained enough to where she would let me keep the TV on at night at least. Some light had to be on. I even had a night light for a little bit. Um, I had a night light for a little bit, but then when the night light went out, I would just use my TV because I did not like being in the dark after that incident. I don't know what that creature was trying to do to my little self, but I was not about to let that shit happen. Oh no. So, again, there is no ending to that story because I don't know what that creature was, what it was, but I did see it. So, yeah. Then there was this other incident. Yes, there are so many incidents, I know. That actually happened in this house. Uh I am aware of this, okay? I am letting y'all know. I'm aware of this though. My grandmother, my not my grandmother, my grandmother's mother died in this room. She died in this room, and I don't even believe I wasn't even born yet, okay, when all of this took place. I was not thought of, nothing. Um but my grandmother's mother died in this room. And when we first moved in here, I didn't want to move in here, but we moved here to help my grandma because she had Alzheimer's and dementia. So we ended up having to move here to take care of my grandma. I didn't want to stay here because my grandma was mean, and yeah, I knew she was really mean and didn't like me, so I didn't want to stay here. But when I ended up choosing this, I didn't choose this room actually. I was forced to take this room. But when I ended up having to take this room, it was something off about this room. I didn't know what it was. But I later found out that my grandma's mother died in this room. So I said, "Oh, that's what's wrong with me." Okay, that's what I feel, right? So this one day, I'm in my room, minding my business, and then I saw this like white sprite type of thing, like this little white puff. It was like a little white puff, just a white puff. That's all I can explain about it. Floating. And it came to my face like this, and I just stared at it like, what? What is this? And I'm looking, I thought it was a feather at first. So I tried to touch it and it backed away. It backed away and floated. like somebody was controlling the damn little white ball of feather. And it was weird. It was fucking weird. Okay, so I stared at it, backed off, but I backed away, and then I opened my room door because I wanted to get it out. I ain't what the fuck it was. I wanted it to get the fuck out of here. So I opened my room door, and it floats out. Then it goes and stands behind my grandma as my grandma walks, and it's doing like this. As she's walking, and I'm just staring at this damn thing. My grandma went to the kitchen. I followed her in the kitchen just to see what this little ball was doing. And then it was gone. Soon as I get to the kitchen, it was gone. And I said, Grandma. And she's like, what's wrong? And my grandma was the same as me with, feeling like she see things and stuff like that. When my grandma died, she used to see these little dark-skinned children in our house. We all chalked it up to Alzheimer's and the dementia, but I really believe that had something to do. I couldn't see them. My grandma saw them, which was weird for me because I usually see everything. And I couldn't see the little black children that my grandma would talk about. She used to make them sandwiches, and I remember she took a whole loaf of bread and made them sandwiches. And I went in the kitchen like, Grandma, what's going on here? And oh, the kids was hungry. I'm like, what kids? Like, and I know it wasn't Athena she was making it for, because Athena was little, and Athena couldn't eat solid food yet. So I know she wasn't making it for Athena. I'm like, what kid? Ain't no kids saying, Grandma, you wasting all this bread? And the little black children running around here. And I'd be like, ain't no children, Grandma. It's these little black children running around here. And I'd be like, all right, Grandma. Like she could see them. I couldn't see them. I thought that was her dementia because I could usually see things in the house. I saw shit. So if I couldn't see it, then I felt like it wasn't really there. But she could have seen them. I don't know. I hear a lot of Alzheimer's patients with dementia talk about the little black children in their house. And I hear that those little black children are actually angels. So I don't know. But I asked my grandma about the little ball. Looked like a little fur ball. I asked her about it. I didn't see nothing. I'm like, so I called my mom. I was investigating, okay? I called my mom. I'm like, Mom. She's like, what? I looked it up and I said, I saw like an orb in my room. And she was like, an orb? I said, like the little transparent ball. Like it looked like a little ball of fur. I said, and it was floating. And she was like, it was floating. I said, yeah, like, and it followed Grandma into the kitchen and then it disappeared. And she was like, that was probably Grandma Mama. I said, what? And she was like, oh, she died in your room. I'm like, so people dying in here and ain't nobody told me. And that happened before you was born, Harriet. I'm like, but ain't nobody feel like they couldn't tell me. Like I'm seeing orbs in my room. I don't know who the orb is. And I'm trying to touch it and it's backing away. Like, you ain't touching me. But I was like, I didn't know nobody. And so I called everybody. Like I called Michelle, my sister, and I told her and I asked her, did she really die in here? And she was like, yeah, I was there that day when she died. And I was like, she died in my room. And she was like, yeah, she died in your room. Sure did. I'm like, in my room. And she's like, yes, in your room. She died in there. I'm like, cool. So now I have one more story. One more story that is the coup de grace, I guess you want to call it that. So when I was young, okay, when I was young, right, I was in my room at my other house, our other house. I was in the room by myself, okay, and it was dark. It was late at night. My mom was at work. I was by myself. So I went to the bathroom, right? I was like, how old was I? Like maybe 13, around that age. Young, you know, I was young when I was a kid. So I went to the bathroom. I was in the bathroom, and the way our bathroom was set up at the other house, you have the toilet here, and then the door is right here by the toilet. Like, you can't come in unless, you know, you're not on the toilet. If you're sitting on the toilet, can't nobody come in, okay, if the door is closed. So I was on the toilet, the door was locked. And sometimes after I pee, I know this is TMI, I just sit there like for a while. Like I'll just sit there because especially if I'm asleep, I will just sit there for a second. Like if I was asleep when I got up. So I just sat there. Again, I was home by myself, right? So I heard rustling in the house. So I just sat there listening, like I know, because we had a dog at that time, but she was with my mom. She used to go to work with my mom. So I was home by myself. The dog was with my mom. So when I heard the rustling, I'm like, what was that? So I'm listening to the rustling, okay? Listening to the rustling. My eyes are closed, but I'm listening to shit moving in the fucking house, right? So then I heard whatever was moving, it came in front of the door, but I heard breathing. And I was ready to fight. Like back then, I was ready like to fight and shit. I picked up the plunger. Like I was gonna knock the fuck out of somebody with the plunger, okay? I picked up the plunger, but I heard the breathing. And I said, who is that? And I heard breathing. They didn't say anything. So I said, who is that? I'm gonna knock you the fuck out. I ain't playing. And I heard the breathing. So I opened the door, didn't see nobody. I was ready to swing even though I had the plunger. I was finna beat a bitch ass with that motherfucking plunger, okay? A bitch was gonna die that day with that plunger, okay? So I heard breathing before I opened that fucking door. I ain't see nobody. So I opened the door and I'm looking. Fuck that. I closed the door back, locked it. I don't know who in the house or what. I didn't have a phone like that. So I didn't know what the fuck I was supposed to do. So I sat in that bathroom again with the plunger in my hand. And it was Pine Sol in the bathroom. So I took the pine saw and I took the top off the pine saw and I was holding it like I was gonna splash me a bitch and beat they motherfucking ass with that plunger, okay? So I hear the breathing come back. I just hear this tight breathing. And I thought somebody was playing with me. I thought it could have been my sister or something, even though, it wasn't my sister. But I thought it could have been because she used to play like sick jokes like that. So I thought it was my sister. I'm like, Kedra, if that's you, stop it. I'm not playing. I got some in here. I'm going to beat your ass with it. And the person didn't say anything. I just heard breathing. So I'm like, holding the pine saw, holding the plunger, my weapon of choice. I opened the door again and threw the pine saw. Didn't see nothing. The pine saw just fell on the towel. And I'm looking and looking. I looked in my room. I looked in the living room. I didn't see nobody. I didn't see anything. So I decided to investigate. I took my pine saw and I took my plunger and I went and looked in my room first because I ain't know if somebody was going to hide in there. So I went in my room first, looking around, went in my closet, moved the door. I'm looking like, didn't see nobody. I moved stuff out the corners, like trying to look and see anything. Didn't see anything. My room was clear. I looked up, room was clear. Then I went back into the hallway, down to the living room, into the kitchen. Then I was in the living room and I'm looking, didn't see nobody. The door was still locked. The windows were still intact. And I know I fucking heard breathing. So I'm looking around and I went in my mom's room. Her door was locked though. But I put my ear to the door like this, which is why I started doing that. I put my ear to the door and I heard the breathing behind my mom's door. It was like, I said, I'm calling the damn police. And it just, and I was like, how the fuck? And but I'm thinking this. How did it get in my mom's room? Her door was locked. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, is anybody in your room? And she was like, no. I said, I hear breathing in there. And she was like, breathing? I said, yeah, I heard it in the hallway. And then I hear it in your room. And she was like, breathing, Harriet? I'm like, breathing. Yes, I heard breathing. And she was like, I don't know. Call the police. And so I call the police, right? Police get there. They don't hear the breathing. I don't hear the breathing. I told them, I said, I know I heard something. I heard something. I don't know what. And they didn't see no signs of forced entry or anything. Wasn't no doors unlocked or anything. No windows were tampered with. They went outside and checked. Nothing was messed with. So I was just like, what was that? I heard breathing, y'all. I heard it. And they were like, well, maybe something, maybe you thought you heard something. Or I said, no, I heard breathing. I heard it. I said I was ready to hit them with this plunger and this pine saw. And they laughed at me. I was like, I didn't have nothing else. I don't have nothing else to protect myself with when I was in the bathroom. I said, so I grabbed a plunger and some pine saw. I was going to whoop me a bitch that day with my plunger and pine saw. So when the police left, because they went outside, they checked everything. They didn't see anything that looked like it would be suspicious. They didn't see nothing. So I went in my room, but I kept the plunger, okay? I went in the kitchen and I had got a little knife, you ain't about to kill me in my house, bitch. No. So I got me a little knife and I kept it in my room. I locked my door. and I heard the rustling again because I cut my TV on, you know, I was playing video games and stuff, and I heard the rustling again, right? Heard rustling again. So I went out. I went out into the living room because I had the knife in my hand. I was ready, okay? Went out into the living room and I saw nothing. Again, looking around, looking under the table, didn't see nobody. Looking everywhere, didn't see nobody. So I said, fuck this. So I went back in my room and I hear doop on like this type on my door, loud ass thump. I said, what the fuck? And I go and I look. I opened the door and I saw nothing. Then I went to the living room, and this time in the living room, the front door was wide fucking open. Nobody was in the house. I locked it when the police left. None of the windows was messed with. I called the police again and I told them I went out. Somebody punched the door, like they hit my door or something. I checked and I looked, and the front door was open. And they didn't see nothing. They didn't see a thing. Nothing looked tampered with. Nothing. And to this day, I can't tell y'all what had happened in my room, what happened in the living room. I can't tell y'all what happened because I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was about. Nothing. That's it. And yeah, I do have a couple more incidents, but I don't want to say it because this video about to be 40 minutes long, y'all. But I do have a couple more incidents that happened similar to this that I will tell you guys in a different video. So yeah, anyway, that's it, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.